runs a ton of floating memory, and Merlin just nom 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 just eats it all up. So we'll see, we'll see how that goes here if we are indeed playing against a water Zander.
So it looks like we're starting off with an increasing danger. There's actually a really interesting thing about the way that card works is on the first turn of the game, you don't actually go to your recollection step. You skip right through that to materialize your spirit. So the fire player playing an increasing danger means that the card that he grants to his opponent, they're not actually going to get to use at all until their second turn. It's going to be stuck in their memory.
Yeah, good thing to note. Um, Though I will note we do have a wind champion here on the board. So is this a wind Zander?
Oh man, I hope so.
Wind Zander. That's wild. Wind Zander in round 5 is kind of crazy. We don't really know, and I mean we as the casters currently don't know the exact win rates of the two players here. But if that is a 5-0 win, Zander, that is remarkable.
Yeah, if our producer is listening and could let us know what these players' records are, that would be great. Because I would love to see a wind Xander deck doing this well. It's it's got some like real tools. There's some really deceptively powerful cards in Wind Xander. Stuff like we see on the board right now. I believe that is a Bushwhack Bandit who has critical, which is just kind of a crazy mechanic that says when it deals damage, you discard cards equal to its critical cost, or it deals double damage. So she has critical 1, so when she deals damage, either her opponent has to discard a card, or she deals 4, which is pretty crazy for a 3-drop. Again, that 4 breakpoint is so important. We've mentioned that a couple of times today.
Yeah, and you really don't want to be discarding cards.
Right.
I imagine most of the time the player is going to opt to take damage.
Hmm.
But we'll have to see. So here we have level up into, you guessed it, level 1 Rye. Just comes into play with some enlightened counters on him. Let's see, looking at Rye's hand, I do see a little bit of removal, right? I did see the. Ooh, what is this? This is just another hasty messenger. Getting on
Yeah, so
in.
great. Oh, wow. I was going to say, great to get that Bushwhack Bandit off the board, but it looks like the attack is met with a reclaim, which is going to pick up that Bushwhack Bandit, give the Xander player a little bit of floating memory as well.
Yeah, not too bad. Save your dude, get some floating memory. All in all, sounds great. I'm not sure what that second ally is. Could be just another. Well,
I
had
think
to
that's
be
a
in.
Flame Rune Swordsman.
Yeah, had to be in at least a 2 attack. Yeah.
So just developing a little bit of a board. Merlin will sort of put her opponents into this damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where she puts these fire creatures on the board, which obviously present a clock like any other ally-based strategy does. But she gets the benefit that when they're removed, they're just adding to that number of fire cards in her graveyard that she's going to eventually use to cast a big erupting rhapsody.
Yeah, for sure. Here for this turn, we just have level 1 Xander into a Dream Fairy, which is nice. That's a card that I think is fantastic, and I'd seen it kind of fallen out of the wayside a little bit in some of the wind lists that I've seen, specifically Lorraine. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great card, and seeing it, in play here is excellent. It's kind of like a tempo removal.
Yeah, great tempo play, especially for cards like Hasty Messenger, which is what was named here on that Dream Fairy, that just are accelerants for your game plan. So the fact that they can't cast them, or at least have to spend a removal spell on Dream Fairy first, is going to do a good job at slowing the game down a little bit.
Yeah. So just clearing up the board, getting some units on there. I do believe the unit he just played is the same one that you mentioned at the start, the one that has critical.
Yeah,
So you can just
Bushwhack Bandit. Yeah.
push some nice damage on in there.
Yeah, really powerful stat line for sure, and it's great when you can keep her on the board. That reclaim was really pivotal to keeping the pressure up with this card, because she does only have 1 health. So anything that can manage to connect with her, especially while she's rested, is going to get the job done. So it's it's good to see that they're trying to protect her a little bit.
Oh, here's Nice little burn spell to take out the Dream Fairy.
Unlock that hasty messenger in hand, probably redeploy that, and looks like we're going to use an ignite the soul instead to deal with that troublesome bushwhack bandit.
And then activate Merlin.
Eating their own floating memory.
Yeah, interesting. And perhaps Xander doesn't actually have any floating memory in their graveyard. No,
Yeah,
they
I mean,
do.
eating your own floating memory, it gives you a permanent level. It's it's sort of like half a dozen and 1/6 of the other. You're going to use those eventually for your erupting anyway, but this is a little bit less interactable if your opponent has any sort of graveyard interaction.
Yeah, that's true for sure. And we're gonna see that almost every single turn. That's what Merlin wants to do. She just wants to eat cards with floating memory and gain those permanent level counters.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm seeing a lot of win cards here that I don't personally play with too often, right?
Sure.
Some wild ones. Which one is that in particular? I do believe
Yeah, so that's a
Fairy
fairy
Whispers.
whispers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
they're definitely putting us to the test here. They're showing us all these cards that don't see a tremendous amount of play. So
yeah. Yeah, Fairy Whispers is a 1-drop fast card that has Glimpse 3, and then you can reveal the top card of your deck after the Glimpse. And if it's Wind element, you can put it in your hand. So it's kind of like a nice little draw spell. It's
yeah,
pretty good.
super powerful. I mean, it replaces itself. It only costs one, and it sort of digs to especially in these standard decks that are like looking for specific cards to sort of accelerate their game plan. It helps them search for those just a little bit.
Yeah, it's just once again at this current bracket, seeing a win Xander is awesome, and that's
Yeah.
honestly really what I wanted to see going into regionals. I wanted to see a lot of shakeups, right, in the meta.
Mhm.
I wanted to see people show like their true takes as opposed to like perhaps what is generally thought as the most competitive decks. And I think Grand Archive is so new and so young. You can make these like supposed rogue or off meta decks,
Mhm.
and they can perform. And we're seeing that today for sure.
Right. Yeah, still a very much unexplored game. So it's not like something that has millions of players or has been around for 20 years that has everything sort of figured out. It's still in its infancy, and so people are still finding strategies that work, and obviously surprising us, especially here today.
Yep, and we have Creative Shock taking out the Bushwhack Bandit into yep. Here we have a Lantern, which is pretty annoying as a fire player for sure.
For
Um,
sure.
that is going to effectively nerf a lot of Merlin's late game capabilities. Um, the lantern, of course, if you didn't know, just basically makes it so cards in graveyards are all norm element, so they don't count as fire, for example. So for cards like Erupting Rhapsody, well, it's going to be tough to pull that one off with the lantern sitting around.
Yeah, definitely like a roadblock, and a lot of these the Merlin players will often come prepared. They know that this is a pretty popular card, even in main decks, so they're going to look for something like Spurn to Ash to take care of that. But on the side of our like slower wind Xander player, they're just looking to sort of delay the inevitable, right? So this is one more thing that Merlin has to deal with before she can even consider going for the kill.
Yeah, this is an interesting play. We have a Beseech the Winds that is going to act kind of like a dungeon guide here. Um, Xander's going to opt to level up into level 2 here.
Yeah, it's very cool that I don't think that they did, but you get to use floating memory when you use Beseech the Winds, which is super cool if you're able to dump a bunch of it into your graveyard before you cast that. But I think we just did the raw. Oh wow, we're just going straight into a dungeon guide as well. So Beseech into dungeon guide. Leveling up is powerful, everybody, if you didn't know, and doing so out of sequence leads to a lot of really powerful stuff. So Sander's going to go pretty low on hand size here, but hopefully, build back up, and of course, like increase that life threshold, which makes it a little bit harder for him to die to this like combo kill.
Yep, for sure. Going up to 25 life. And this is Xander Blinding Steel. I really like this one for heavy Luxem decks, and this basically tells me that, like, hey, I'm running a ton of Luxem stuff, and I want to reveal some cards. So very similar to the Water Xander playstyle, I think. Just how deep he is in it, we're We're gonna find out for sure. Um, but yeah, essentially he wants to put cards into his memory every single turn, and he wants those cards to be powerful on reveal Luxem cards, so he can get value out of turning them face up with Xander.
Yeah, really interesting take on the Luxem deck is this Win Zander deck because, like you said, they do get to effectively play 8 copies of Dungeon Guide. So when they're looking to just
Yeah.
really hit level 3 as fast as possible, this Win deck does accelerate them towards that goal. It just does cost them a lot of card advantage in the meantime. So we'll see if, they hit level 3 very quickly, but we'll see if they can, sort of claw back and get some more cards in hand.
Yeah, and I think just kind of thinking about the available wind card pool, there isn't as much floating memory compared to water, for example.
Right.
So it is very, very like hand intensive and
Mm-hmm.
resource intensive, but they got there. So we'll see, how much it pays off. Merlin just kind of sitting there at level 2 is gonna be there at level 2 because currently there's no way to level up Merlin past that. That will change in Fractured Crown, but currently this is what you got. This is the Merlin. They do have 15 damage marked on him already, which is quite a bit.
So it looks like they found the Spurn to Ash here to deal with that Nullifying Lantern. So now the shields are down, but of course that did take all of their turns. So assumingly Merlin's going to look to make it to her turn, and if she does, try to fire off a kill here. But she's only at 5 remaining health, and we saw one Lightweaver's Assault get revealed here at the start of the turn, so that might be enough to just finish the job.
Yeah, I mean, Lightweavers is going to put in a lot of work. How many cards does Xander currently have in their hand? Because like Lightweavers, if you want to just play it raw, it costs 4.
Right.
So itself plus the cost, you need at least a 5-card hand. It is a pretty intensive card, like cost intensive card.
So if they can cast it here, they have the game locked up, but they just might not have the 5 cards in hand.
Yeah. Notably, it is a fast speed card, so you can play it on your opponent's turn.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Oh, so it's just another another hasty messenger. Great card. Fire All-Star. Coming in for 1 point of damage, and then you get to loot, draw a card, to discard a card, which is fantastic. Setting up that floating memory, which of course with Merlin is really, really good. Looks like they're dropping. Is that another hasty messenger?
Yeah,
Yes, I think it is.
Number 2, yeah.
Just kind of digging for the answers they need so they don't die on the next turn. Notably, Xander did not play anything, so there are no cards in his memory. So he has nothing to turn face up unless he plays something at instant speed.
Yeah, it looks like he's already gone back over to his turn and woken up his Luxem map there. So
yeah,
it looks like he's just going into his turn and gonna try to find some not a huge hurdle, just has to come across for 4 in some fashion here.
Yeah, the card he get is that it's hard to tell on the screen here. Was that Carnowin? Is that the dagger or sword?
No, I believe he got Safeguard Amulet. I think that's what we're looking at there.
That
yeah,
does
but it looks like he's gonna go ahead and play a Gleaming Cut and flip up a Lightweaver's Assault, and that's enough to get the job done.
Yep. Gleaming Cut's gonna push some damage, and Lightweaver's also going to push some damage on the reveal.
Yeah, so definitely Xander in this matchup feels like he is the slower deck, but he got a ton of value off of that Bushwhack Bandit that game. I think she dealt upwards of 10 damage just because, so debilitating to discard a card that early in the game. So she usually just comes across for 4, and I think she got in 3 times there. Important to note that the Merlin deck doesn't really have any way to control their life total, so the damage that you deal them is permanent, and as you said during the game there, she can't go up to level 3, so 22 is the maximum that she gets.
Yeah, and it's I mean that's not true for Xander. Depending on what they're running, we didn't really see a lot of life gain that round or that match, but you do have Luxem Sight, and Luxem Sight does gain you 3 life on reveal. Right. And if you're sitting on like multiple Luxem Sights, you can be gaining 6-9 life a turn, which is kind of crazy. It's actually kind of crazy. So Yeah, very interesting. I also like to talk about Bushwhack Bandit real quick. Bushwhack Bandit, I think, is just like if you're the opposing player, discarding a card to Bushwhack Bandit just feels bad, right? Even though
Right.
it might be the right play, it might be the correct play optimally. Like just discarding a card to prevent the extra damage just kind of feels bad. You're like, hey, I'm wasting a card to prevent the damage. But in some cases, maybe the proper play is to actually do that so you don't just die to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, usually in card games, there's this, adage that anytime that you give your opponent a choice, it's bad because they're always going to choose the choice that benefits them the most, right? But
Yep.
Bushwhack Bandit feels like you don't really have that choice all of the time, where either like you've played your entire hand and she's just automatically hitting for four, or the card that you kept in your hand is the one that you need because you were worried about banishing it to a memory cost, and so obviously you don't want to discard it to save yourself two life.
And Bushwhack Bandit's only a 3-drop too, so yeah, very efficient. It's just a 3-drop 2/1 with critical one, and you know, it pushed so much damage through that game.
Yeah, we'll see if she can come across again here and get the job done. The early pressure is all you need against these mage decks because they will get there with the inevitability. All of these mage decks have the best inevitability in the game. It's just whether or not you let them get there.
Yep. Here we have another one of the was this Fairy Whispers, I believe is
Yes,
the name of
sir.
the card.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the more I think about it, the more I like this card. Glimpse 3, and then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's wind, put it in your hand. So it's kind of a nice little draw one. It has to be wind, so you can definitely whiff on it, right? You can get
Hmm.
like some norm element cards or Lux element cards or something like that, but still a nice little draw one, and
Yeah.
it's a reasonable turn one play.
Yeah, I think it's a very strong card, and especially on turn one, where if you don't have floating memory, you at least can control that you're putting exactly one card into your memory, and that is the card that you're going to banish to level up if that's what they want to do. The only reason that would get messed up a little bit is if our fire player happens to have an increasing danger to sort of randomize what card they banish there.
Yeah. And here you have it, another Hasty Messenger. One of the best cards in Fire. We're gonna see it all day. As long as people are playing Fire, I guess like not Fire Rye, but every other Fire deck, you jam the Hasty Messenger. It is sweet.
So notably that we can see the fire player's hand a little bit here. They have everything they need. I see two erupting rhapsodies and an ember song in their hand. So the combo is established. Now they just need to sort of turbo some fire cards into their graveyard.
Yeah, they're just kind of gonna set up, play that Library Witch out. Xander's gonna just immediately jam a Grand Crusader ring instead of leveling up. Um, opting for that card draw. Notably, since Xander did not level up, none of the class bonuses will be in effect because
Hmm.
currently he's just a floating spirit, right? Not actually an assassin yet.
Right. Yeah, looks like they opted to cast this idle thoughts, and they get to do a little cute play where they look at the top four and then get to draw their favorite one with Grand Crusader's ring. But it is kind of a dangerous place to be. It's deceptive how fast this Merlin deck is if they have the right cards, and staying at 15 as a spirit makes it a lot easier. Looks like we're going for a Beseech, and maybe they're just going to level up right now using
That makes
that idle
sense.
thoughts.
That does make sense. It's a little bit resource intensive, right? Because you have to play the besiege, and then you have to banish it. But if this was the optimal play, it does make a little bit of sense here.
Yeah, it seems like a really heads up play by the assassin player to, realize that maybe their class bonuses matter and also that life threshold is a real thing to worry about.
Yeah, I honestly think the life threshold is probably the most important part for this.
Right.
I mean, they don't know what we know. Like, they don't know
Sure.
that they're sitting on the combo in hand, but you gotta at least expect it to some degree here. And of course,
Yeah,
we
you
have
got to
the
respect them, right? Just I try to always assume that my opponent has it, and I think that's a better
ooh,
way to go about things.
that's a rough banishing an erupting rhapsody here. Did they have redundancy in their hand? I guess we're gonna find out.
Yeah, I know they did have a second Rhapsody, but
Okay,
usually it
okay, cool.
takes at least a Rhapsody and a Fireball or two Rhapsodies to sort of get across the finish line. So I assume that does hurt their combo potential a little bit.
Yeah, I see a couple of removal spells, like the 2-drop 2 damage, spark. Let's see. I mean, they have a lot of filtering, right, on board. They have two um, of these hasty messengers, so that's like two free loots per turn.
Yeah, it looks like
And
they're going to opt to
blast them in the
just
face.
fire that off for, the lightning bolt, 3 damage unpreventable. Try to
Yeah.
soften up their target a little bit, gets another fire card in the graveyard, and they're already at, I think, like 4 or 5 fire cards there. And,
Hmm.
if they get one more off hasty next turn, that, adds up to making these erupting rhapsodies for like 7. And if you have a fireball that, comes in for the finish. So they're getting into, dangerous territory.
Yeah. So they opted not to attack with the other hasty messenger,
I think that's
which
a library witch. There's a little bit
oh,
of
that is
glare
that
on
is
the
a library
screen, but
witch. That is a library witch. Well, they also opted not to attack with the library witch. For
well,
those
that
of you
sends a
who,
message, attacking with the
yeah,
library
yeah,
witch. You just gotta,
get
show
in,
them who's boss.
get in there. No, the library witch cannot protect allies, so the bushwhack is just going to come down and clear up that hasty messenger.
Right. Yeah. No taunt on library witch, which would be maybe a little bit too scary.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think of like how much better would it be? Pretty good. It'd be like pretty good. Um, so Xander here basically needs to establish board presence. It looks like they did opt for is that a poison dagger, I think,
Yeah, it
which
is.
is a very, very cool card. Poison dagger is one of my favorite cards to kind of combo off with, especially with kind of like Lightweaver shenanigans. So what it does is it enters rested, and then you can banish it, and you deal 1 damage to a unit, which could also be your opponent's champion. Spoilers, it will likely be your opponent's
Hmm.
champion. And then until end of turn, if that unit would take damage, it takes that much +1. So it's really great when you're revealing a lot of Lightweavers, and so it just makes every instance of the 2 damage like 3 damage, right? And then you add that into all the units you can attack with. You can push a ton of damage with that dagger.
Yeah, I think they're, properly determining that they have to be the aggressor here, so they're going to try to use that poison dagger with a combination of some ally attacks to put some real pressure on the mage here, who has thus far taken 0 damage this game.
Yeah, if you're the win player in this situation, this is not looking as good as first game, right?
Right.
You have no board presence, you haven't done any damage yet, and your opponent does have a little bit of board presence, and they're kind of already starting the necessary processes. Here we have a level 2 Zander, which I actually like his effect, but in this matchup is not going to really help all that much. Level 2 Zander basically helps you kill rested allies. And I don't imagine we'll see too many rested allies from Merlin.
No, definitely few and far between. And it is, I think, maybe a little bit of a risk here to, assume that your opponent is probably pretty close to assembling everything that they need. And you really do have to get that nullifying lantern out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, especially there. I do believe most of their hand is gone. They did level
Right.
up to level 3, right? And that does increase the life total to 25. So that's that is relevant. It looks like they have what 3 cards in hand left, plus the one in their memory. Kind of hard to see what this card is being played.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is that
It
that might be one
might.
of the Korhazi allies.
Yes, I think that is.
Yeah, it
Let
looks like it
me.
is.
I don't think that's the 3/2. I think that's the other one. I think that's the one. That's the 2/2. Yeah, that one is Korhazi Lightblade, which
Sure.
has a on attack trigger, which is on attack you reveal a card from memory at random. If it's a Luxem card, then it gains critical 1. So yeah, this can also just push a ton of damage.
Yeah, very strong here. It looks like the random reveal was a gleaming cut, which is going to banish to draw 2 cards. So not only is this Lightblade going to do their best Bushwhack Bandit impression, we're also going to get to draw 2 cards off of this gleaming cut.
Yeah, Gleaming Cut is it's a card you can play if you need to in a pinch, but it's better served as a reveal target to just draw 2 cards for basically free, which
Yeah, I hear
is
Pot of Greed is
very
pretty
nice.
strong.
Yeah, especially when you can just do it multiple times, you
Right.
know, have no cost. Um, and yeah, Xander's kind of setting himself up to do some nice reveal shenanigans. Um, what he really would like is light weavers, maybe some Luxem sights, so he can start gaining that life back and start dealing some incremental damage to kind of get back into this.
Yeah, he's established a board. He's gotten to level 3, so he's checked all of the Zander boxes, and now he just has to hope that he can find enough damage and enough pressure to close it out before Merlin assembles a kill.
Yeah, I mean, especially with that dagger on board, right?
Right.
Um, he's just kind of like setting himself up to get the win here. Um, so yeah, we're down to the races here. Um,
So I
is
believe
this
that is a Cemetery Sentry. That is also the new art, I think.
yes, this one is the 2/2 that you can discard a fire card and then draw a card
That is
on
correct.
enter.
Yeah.
Um, I do believe, yeah, that I think that is the new art for it.
I'm
Great
loving
card,
seeing all
and
these supporter pack arts.
yeah, I'm a big fan of them. Um, we see a removal spell just coming down, taking out the light blade, which is
Yeah, so
fair. But
interestingly enough, that was an Ember Song that they cast as the removal spell. Which it's a great card. It does deal 2 damage, but that's not its primary purpose in this matchup. So I assume that they probably have some redundancy and have another one that they're looking to cast next turn. Critically, usually the Merlin combo either requires you to have a channeling stone in play or to have 9 cards because you have to cast 3 different cards that cost 2 apiece. So it looks like we're at just 7 here from Merlin. So she's a little bit off from going for the combo.
yeah, it looks like Xander does have at least one Luxem Sight in hand, so he's going to
Mhm.
gain a little bit of life there, which is not too bad.
Yeah,
And
getting
for
below that
the
like 20 life threshold is like really important.
yeah, oh yeah. Um, this is Bushwhack Bandit, I believe, right?
Um, yes, I believe it
Yeah.
is.
Bushwhack, and then just pushing a little bit of extra damage with the dungeon guide. So for those out there who don't know the actual like full combo, can you run over for the viewers what the Ember Song combo is with Merlin?
So, Erupting Rhapsody is a card with Harmonize, and what Harmonize says is that it gets an extra effect as long as you've played a melody this turn, or sorry, a harmony this turn. So the harmony of choice is Ember Song. It's just the most mana efficient. The card text doesn't really matter. So they have to play an Ember Song to get the extra effect on Erupting Rhapsody. And what that is they can banish any number of fire cards from their graveyard. They gain that many levels for the turn, and then they deal damage split however they want, equal to their level. So usually they're looking to cast an Ember Song to turn on the Rhapsody, cast Rhapsody, give themselves plus 10, plus 11 levels, deal something like 13 to their opponent, and then finish them off with something like a Fireball since they're newly level 13.
Perfect. And so basically the key card that they're really looking for here is the Erupting Rhapsody. We did see one um in the bin. Well, one got banished earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So they're at least down to 3 here.
Yeah, it feels like they're really biding their time here because they're not under a tremendous amount of pressure. It's pretty hard for Xander to, explode a whole lot of damage unless he does something like, a double Lightweaver's turn. But it looks like he just has a couple of Luxem sights here. He's
Oof.
going to go back down to 0
Yep.
damage
Gain,
counters.
gain, gain 6 life. Yep. Um yeah, Xander is kind of like online, right? Um it's now basically up to Merlin to uh, get that critical mass of levels to assemble the combo to basically one shot Xander. In Grand Archive, you can't gain more life than your champion's maximum. So the number to beat here is 25, right? You need to deal 25 damage all in one go because Xander is just going to keep gaining life every single turn if they can keep putting cards in their memory.
And that is a reasonably tall order. 25 is a lot, and we see that our Xander player has resolved their nullifying lantern, which is yet another hurdle that Merlin's going to have to overcome. I was really thinking this was going to be our game three match, but it's looking pretty good for the Xander player here.
Yeah, I've said this already a few times. I think they've really set themselves up well here. They're in a good position. They don't have like a ton of cards in their hand, but they still have a nice little grip here. Um, it is open knowledge, right? The Merlin player has seen Xander's hand, minus the card that they drew for the turn, because it was more or less entirely revealed with Xander's effect. Um, ooh, what is this card? Is this another
I think that
alternate art?
might be Swift Recruit's alternate art. Yeah, so they're just coming in for a little bit of chip damage.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Just coming in for a little bit of damage here. The big finisher that Xander is waiting for is the you can do like a multiple Lightweaver's Assault if you have enough cards in your hand. You need a lot of cards in your hand to do this, by the way. I think you need about 10 cards.
Yeah, it's
But
10.
you can deal a ton of damage with Lightweaver's Assault by playing a Lightweaver's Assault, holding priority, and then playing another Lightweaver's Assault. So you have all 8 cards in your memory to deal 8, and then another 8 with the second Lightweavers.
Yeah, and you get all of the reveal triggers twice. It's insane.
Yes, yeah, it's very nice. But once again, it's a very hand intensive play. You need 10 cards, both Lightweavers plus 8 cards to pay for them. And until then, you kind of just want to sit on your Lightweavers and use it to reveal, because Lightweavers on reveal does 2 damage to any unit, which is great. And if you can have multiple Lightweavers revealing, you can push a lot of damage wherever you need, because it can deal it to any unit.
Yeah, and it looks like the Merlin player is thinking about that too, because for their materialized step, they did get a safeguard amulet, which does give them some protection from the Lightweaver skill.
Yep.
So they're thinking that they're in the danger zone a little bit, but they're still looking for pieces, and now they have to find a Spurn to Ash to deal with that nullifying lantern. So they're going to play a Cemetery Sentry, do a little bit of digging, hopefully find a Spurn to Ash to deal with that nullifying lantern, but not yet. They're just going to play a Cremation Ritual, pick up that Cemetery, draw 2 new cards.
More digging, just into the fire, Cemetery Sentry. I mean,
At
Merlin
least,
is
like flavorful, right? Putting the Cemetery Sentry in the Cremation Ritual.
yeah. Do not pass go directly into the fire. You have 7 cards in Merlin's memory.
Mhm.
So they have a decent amount of cards to play with. So they have 7 cards in their memory. I think they are currently counting the number of cards in their deck. Because you don't want to deck yourself. That is definitely a thing. Or were they counting the number of fire cards? I think they were counting the number of fire cards in their graveyard actually.
I assume it's a whole lot. I think they're like well within kill range. They're sitting under this nullifying lantern that just completely shuts off the combo. So I think this is probably the turn where they could have got there for lethal if they could resolve their spells as they wanted to. But now they have to mandatory find a Spurned Ash to deal with that nullifying lantern, which slows them down yet another turn.
Yeah, they're basically slowed to a crawl, right? Right, because the only other option here is like Fireball, and Fireball cares about your level, and they don't have the raw level currently to do this, right?
Yeah, they're only level 2. Merlin hasn't even been eating any floating memory, so the
Yeah,
Fireball for 3 is probably not going to get it done.
nope, nope. Um, yeah, so we'll see what they draw. So that is a draw. Was that a Bushwhack Bandit off the top of the deck for Xander? Once again, a little bit difficult because a lot of these cards are not frequently played, which
Right.
is I actually find very exciting. I think it's really cool that we're seeing like an off meta deck, and not only that, an off meta deck like doing its thing, which is really cool. It's like a different flavor of Water Xander, which is, like I said at the beginning of the show here, my favorite deck. And so I'm really digging the wind take on it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really powerful tools here, and I think Wind Xander is something that you're going to see a lot more post Fractured Crown. But even now, it has like so many good creatures at its disposal that other decks just really don't have access to.
I mean, I am very much looking forward to. I believe her name is Parsonet.
Yeah.
Um, gotta love the assassin maid lady, like for sure. Um, even if I don't end up playing Win Xander, she's probably still one of my favorites. She's
Yeah.
probably still
She's
one of my favorites.
extremely powerful too.
Um, so we have got a good old dungeon guide, just kind of like chilling on the board here. I imagine Merlin, since they are not really, yeah, they just want to clean up the board. They're
Yeah.
not really doing a lot of like super proactive stuff here. They're just kind of like trying to dig for the right answers to that lantern. And well, they did grab a Orb of Regret, which once again, if you're the opposing player and you see your opponent grab an Orb of Regret, especially this late in the game, you gotta know like they're kind of hurting there.
Yeah, and the Zander player just continues to put the squeeze on here. They're materialized an orb of choking fumes that,
Oh
when it
yeah.
is activated, makes all of the activations this turn cost one more. So they can do that on their opponent's turn to make all of their activations cost one more. They have that nullifying lantern still. They have a safeguard amulet.
Yep.
So there's just, I think, too much going on here. We might have passed the point of no return.
Yeah, and we can see here the cards revealed. We have Luxem Sight, and then we have a Dream Fairy as well. Um, yeah, Xander's just continuing to amass just a ton of advantage. I'm a big fan of the Orb of Choking Fumes, by the way. I like it quite a bit. That's a card that you can activate during your opponent's recollection or materialization, just to kind of like make all their stuff cost one more for the entire turn.
Yeah, and it
Very
draws a
cool.
card too.
Yeah, it's great. It's it is a personal favorite of mine. Um, and what my Water Xander deck is nickname is called Orb Xander because I run like a ton of orbs. He's
Sure.
got all the orbs.
Xander pondering his orbs.
Yep. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. This is a big turn. We have a dagger activation. It's going to deal some damage to Merlin, but more importantly, every time damage is dealt to Merlin, it's going to deal that much +1. And so here we have a big
Oh,
Lightweaver's Assault
wow.
activation. It's going to trigger all of the revealed cards and then deal extra damage here. And the number that we want to get to is 22. And we're going to have multiple triggers here, taking the opponent to 21.
Yeah, so they had a safeguard amulet, and I think they cracked it here, which is what saved them from not dying because that
Yeah,
was an
I think so.
overwhelming amount of damage.
I
No,
think
we're
so.
putting it back into play. What's going on here?
Hmm. Maybe they didn't crack it.
Yeah, I think if you were going to crack it at all, now was the time to do it. But it looks like they do get one more lease on life. They're at exactly 21 of 22. This is the last turn they have. So they need to
Yep.
find an answer to that nullifying lantern and enough reserve to cast their combo. They're gonna crack that orb of regret and go fishing.
Yeah. Notably, Xander cracked his orb during the beginning of Merlin's turn. So
Oh
all of
sure.
their cards are going to cost one more to play here, and
Yeah.
it feels like a last-ditch effort for Merlin.
Yeah, I think this one might be locked out here, but stranger things have happened. Hopefully they can find a route here, but it's a
I
tough
mean,
place to be
it's
when you know that you're dead to your opponent's, recollection step reveal, right?
yep, yeah. I mean, they're going to take damage from all the Light Reaver reveals for sure, and I think there are at least two or three in there. Um, as the Merlin player, you're basically you want the lantern removal, and you also need the combo kill here. Like you need both.
Right.
Unfortunately, Merlin's not at a very high level currently, so I I don't know.
Yeah,
They do
she's
have a
like
lot of cards in their
maximum
hand.
level 5 if she eats one of her own float and cracks her crystal of empowerment. Yeah, they're paying 3 to cast a increasing danger here, and that just can't be what they want to be doing.
Yeah, four cards already in their memory. They still have a nice grip there. It looks like at
Yeah.
least 7+ cards. Trying to kind of glean what they have in their hand. I think I see a hasty messenger. I see a deflecting. I see not a ton that can save them, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I see a bunch of combo pieces, a deflecting edge, a tempered steel, like these really aren't getting it done here.
Yeah, and with that lantern just kind of chilling over there, as Xander kind of points out, just kind of like pointing, hey, I still got this lantern, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough road to be, but they're gonna see if they can find a line here.
Well, gonna dig for more. One damage. Discard draw. Did he get it? Doesn't look super stoked about it. All right. I believe this is the moment of truth here. We
Yeah.
have the reveal, and we have is it 3 Lightweavers? Per game. There you
Wow.
have it. Wind Xander going on. Wow. Um, didn't expect to see Wind Xander here, but you know what? We've seen Water Sylvie already take a win, so why not Wind Xander, right?
Yeah, no matter what, it feels like every time we have expectations that one deck is going to take it down, it's always the opposite. So, big shout out to Win Xander taking this one down. Which I think typically these mage decks are pretty tough for any Xander to get through, just because they usually can't provide as much pressure as they want to. But Wind does it seems like a better job than Water at pressuring their opponent, and they got the win here.
Yeah, I think a combination of like the bushwhacks, the early critical damage, plus just being able to turbo out your level 3 Xander with your combination of dungeon guides and beseech the winds, just was able to get there. Yeah, this is cool. I might have to try this deck out. I was really down on Wind Xander. It is literally the only Xander deck I don't have built,
Sure.
but I don't know. Maybe I'll come around to it. Maybe I'll play it a little bit. I'm a believer.